Hello, I'm Yutaka Watanabe, a tax accountant. This is the Tax Accountant Nabe Solves Your Money Problems. This time, I'll talk about what is a non-resident. Many people may vaguely think, if I live overseas, Japanese taxes have nothing to do with me, right? As a matter of instinct, it is understandable to think that way, but the world of taxes is not that simple. In fact, this is one of the most commonly misunderstood points, and quite a few people unknowingly end up carrying significant risks. So today, let's dive straight into core of this extremely strict rule. Now, let me ask you a quick question. From the perspective of the tax office, do you really know where you live? The place you feel is my home, and the legal definition of where you are located, as determined by the government or the tax office, can actually be commonly different. This is not merely a matter of feelings, nor is it something that can be settled by a superficial fact, such as whether you removed your resident record at City Hall. This gap in understanding is precisely what often leads to serious trouble later on. Section 1. What is a resident? Let's take a look right away. This is the official rule. It is very important, so I'll break it down carefully. A non-resident refers to an individual who does not have a domicile in Japan, who has not continuously had a place of residence in Japan for 1 year or more up to the present. The word you absolutely must not overlook here is "and." In other words, satisfying only one of the two conditions is not enough. Unless both conditions are met, you cannot escape the status of being a resident of Japan. And there is a really interesting point. This rule. A domicile is, so to speak, the complete base of your life, your permanent home base. On the other hand, a place of residence means a place where you are staying temporarily. In other words, even if you do not own a home in Japan, if you stay at your parents' home or a hotel with the intention of staying just for a little while, and before you know it, that stay continues for more than 1 year, then yes, at that point you are out. You cannot no longer get out of the resident category. The excuse, "I thought of myself as a traveler," does not work. Your subjective intention has nothing to do with it. If the fact of your stay accumulate, that alone can result in you being recognized as a resident. Section 2. How do taxes change? So, why is it so important to correctly understand this definition? The reason is simple. The tax office treats residents and non-residents under completely different rules. The scope of what is taxes is fundamentally different. If you become a resident, money earned all over the world broadly becomes subject to taxation. Overseas work overseas investment, overseas real estate income. All of it must be reported in Japan. In technical terms, this is called worldwide income taxation. On the other hand, if you are recognized as a non-resident, that net becomes much narrower. As a financial benefit, this is truly a major difference. The extremely important point is this. If you are a non-resident, the Japanese government can only tax money generated within Japan. This is called Japan-sourced income. For example, rental income earned by leasing out an apartment in Japan or compensation for work performed within Japan. In any case, only money whose source is in Japan becomes the target. Conversely, income earned overseas outside of that becomes completely free from Japanese tax. There is an extremely strict dividing line here, depending on the scale of income. This difference can easily amount to several million yen per year. Section 3. Strict criteria for determination. Now, when people hear that taxes can become lower, anyone would naturally want to become a non-resident. But this is where things become frightening. The tax office will absolutely not simply accept your self-declaration that I live overseas. The determination is unbelievably strict. It is based on self-reporting. Instead, the number of days you stayed in Japan is calculated precisely, day by day, log the entry and exit record in your passport. In addition, the decision is made extremely strictly based only on accumulation of objective facts, such as where your family is, where your living expenses are paid, and where your bank account is mainly used. I intended to live overseas emotionally, or I had no choice but to return to Japan because of work. Such excuses do not work at all. Only numbers and objective facts speak. It is a very strict world. Finally, I would like to end by asking everyone one question. If a tax audit suddenly came to you tomorrow and the tax officer asked, "Where is your true base of life?" how would you answer? Passport stamps, where your family lives, where utility bills and rent are paid, and where your credit card is used. These everyday facts of life speak powerfully about where your true base is. Unfortunately, the mere fact that you removed your resident record is completely insufficient. Even if you think you are fine, you may have been judged to be a resident without realizing it. Such cases are by no means rare. Please compare this carefully with your current situation and take time to think about it. This time, I talked under the title, "What is a non-resident?" For international tax matters, please also visit the page of Yutaka Watanabe, Tax Accountant Office. I will continue talking about topics related to money, so please subscribe to the channel. Tax Accountant Nabe solves your money problems.